Hello there, and welcome back to the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. As you know, my name is Nicole, and I'm so excited to be here today with Kathryn. And so, Kathryn is a presence coach. Like, can you just, I'm going to butcher it. So, I want you to go ahead, take it away, Kathryn. Let us know who
Oh
you are
yeah.
and who you help.
Okay, and thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. So I'm an executive presence consultant. So I work with organizations and individuals on cultivating executive presence as a strategic advantage, not just a nice to have. So, I've had a 20-year experience in the corporate world and had a nice growth trajectory into three different verticals. I worked in gaming, e-com, and media. And what I saw firsthand was the importance of cultivating that executive presence in the boardroom. But I have a very unique approach from the perspective of my mission really is to normalize personal growth in the workplace. So how I teach on presence is really getting an internal alignment and having a deep understanding of your belief systems and the programs that you approach your life with, because those programs is your presence. And so when you're not aware of that, you could be operating at a tenth of what you're really capable of. And so what I have found is when I really work with people on, kind of taking that step back, getting really clear on the limiting beliefs they have that are holding them back and how it impacts how they think of themselves, how they approach their work. And when you really get clear in what those are and you can cultivate a path forward that utilizes, it kind of optimizes who you truly are authentically, you have a lot more ease and success in life. So my big push is just eliminating a lot of the resistance that we have every day and living a life that's more in flow so that you can have that success in both your life and in your work.
I love that. That is so powerful. Um, You're not necessarily, because when we think of like a presence consultant, you're like, oh, so she tells me to wear a suit. So that is not what you do. So can you tell us a little bit more about what it means to have that presence
Sure.
in the office?
Yeah, and that's a little bit a part of it, right? You have an identity and you want to embody and step into that identity. And, is your what you physically wear, does it reflect who you truly are? I mean, that probably plays a little bit into it. But I peel back the onion a lot deeper than that. So I created a framework that I'm actually writing a book right now. It'll be out in a couple months called Your Presence is Your Power. And the framework is based on, it's called the impact framework, and it stands for identity alignment, mindset mastery, persona, um, authority and confidence, communication excellence, and transformative growth. And so what I do is I start with a purpose assessment. So it's a 20-minute assessment. It's not a personality test like you've seen maybe in like a DISC or a Myers-Briggs. What it does, it actually pulls out your intrinsic motivations and gives you a 40-page report that talks all about your intrinsic motivations that are what your purpose is and how do you tie that purpose to what you do every day. So how do you create that impact and develop a deeper impact and a deeper value with your organization based on what you bring to the table. So I love that assessment. I utilize that a lot. And so I'm working with a large organization right now that is bringing it into all of their top departments. And what's exciting about that is you'll start to see people, I love this. They start to talk, they talk to each other utilizing the lingo in the assessment, like, what quadrant are you in? Are you a recruiter? Are you a messenger? So forth. So we utilize that. And then from there, we get deep into understanding like what is the conversation you're telling yourself. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts every day. And on very typically, most people have the same 90% of those thoughts are the same thing every day. So it's like you're creating a narrative in your mind, and that's creating the path, that's creating your life. And so how do we get really clear on that and then start to create a narrative that actually puts us where we want to be? I think that when you, as a human, when you see fulfillment in what you do every day, when you understand your purpose, and the purpose is really the best of what you have to help other people, right? We're all here to help each other out, and we do that in a variety. It looks very different for each person, but that when you fulfill that purpose and you have that sense of fulfillment, that intrinsic happiness is what can keep you going forward and gives you that momentum. So So I really do try and get you clear onto like who you authentically are. And then when you get to that place, we look at some of the triggers that you have in your life that are causing resistance within you, and we dissolve them. And I have a couple of different methods that I work within that we can do that with. And you really you just want to get yourself to a place of flow so that you are the most authentic version of you. Because when you're that authentic version, that is when you can start, magnetizing the things that are meant for you. But not only that, it opens up the real estate in your brain so that you can start coming from a place of innovation, from a place of clarity. You're utilizing your parasympathetic nervous system. You're able to handle things in a lot from a different perspective. So it's real transformation. I want people to experience themselves in a whole different light. I just came off a 7 day, um, I can't believe I did this still, but I'm still like dealing with reentry. But I went off the grid for 7 days, and I'm a consistent student of my work. So, I have a passion for this so much so that I'm always looking for opportunities to find different ways to transform so I can put it into my work. So I went for a week in a ranch in New Mexico, where we were, got off the plane, drove 2 hours with 60 strangers, all that was there was a dining hall, a cabin with 20 bunk beds in each cabin, and for the women, and then a dining hall and a classroom, and that was it. And I lived there for 7 days, and we got up at 7 and did everything as a community and sat in that classroom, and we worked till 11, 12 o'clock at night. It was exhausting, but the most transformative week of my life. Like I did things there that I never thought I could do. I learned things I never thought I would retain. So and I'm excited about that, and I'm working right now on really incorporating some of those key elements into my impact container so that I can pass that learning on and help transform other people.
Wow, that's really cool. And there's like, so many different thoughts that are coming up. I think it's amazing to be able to unplug and really just focus on what it is that you're doing, right? Because like in our world today, like that, I was like said the other day, I was like, I like to unplug from the matrix and go outside in the real world and, and do things, right? So that's really cool. Now, can you tell me what part gratitude plays in all of this that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, gratitude is so important. I think it's the language of the universe, and
Mhm.
it's really important. And it's something that it's how I start my day. Like as soon as I open my eyes, I'm like, okay, these are the things I'm thankful for. Even when I have the triggers, right? Even when I have bad days, the way I look at it is that you can either revolve or evolve, right? And when you revolve, you're just in this cycle and you can't get out of it, and you don't understand why things are happening. And, there's not a lot of gratitude, there's a lot more resentment. And you get to a place where you're like, okay, I'm thankful for the experiences that have been brought my way. I see how it's happening for me. And when you can really come to a place of collapsing that and evolving to the next step, you really do have a different perspective on how to live your life. And gratitude is definitely a baseline for that. And having the awareness and being, when you get to that place where you're like, wow, I get it, there's an intrinsic thankfulness to that, because you realize that you're not left on your own accord here. You were guided, and you're your own, you're the source of your life. You're in the driver's seat. And a lot of people don't realize that. They come from a very reactive perspective, a little bit maybe of a victim mentality, sitting in the passenger seat of their life. And so I really want, and I've been through it all. I didn't always have this perspective. I went through I had a very successful career. And then when COVID happened and my life kind of turned upside down, I walked out of my marriage and my life, and really had to kind of take a time out and reevaluate my life, because I didn't feel so internally aligned. And coming out of that were a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors that I wasn't happy with. And I was like, nope, I'm made for more than this. And I'm going to figure this out. And it took me a good 5 years to get to a place where I'm like, okay, I kind of have a handle on all of this. And so what I want to do is kind of compact all of that learning and give it to you in just a couple of weeks so that, you're really set up to be like, okay, I can navigate this life with grace and with ease and with a lot less pain. And so, yeah, that's my hope for everyone.
I love it. And so, what advice going through this process, coming out of it, what is some advice that you have for someone who is in the process of overcoming themselves, as the podcast is called, and
Yeah.
stepping into this not new version, into this evolved version of themselves to go back to what you were saying?
Yeah, I think at a high level, when you can find the benefits, right? If you look at your life and you go, okay, this I'm going through a little bit of an evolution in my life and it's painful. Evolution's always painful. It's painful if you don't understand it. But if you can find the areas in your life where you're like, okay, it is the matrix, right? Every plus has a minus, every up has a down, every benefit has a drawback.
Mhm.
So if you can get clear on what is this, how is this benefiting me? And then, what's the drawback here? And what do I choose? Because you get to choose what you lean into. You have the choice to decide, okay, I'm going to lean into what the benefit for this is for me, and I'm going to let that be my path. And the more that you do that, the more you choose the benefit, and the more you can be aware of both sides and do that collapsing, that's your quantum leap. So that's really where you can start to look back and go, I see how that was done for me. And it creates your authentic self and it creates an internal alignment. And in essence, that's what your that's what your presence is. That's your the energy that you emanate speaks louder than anything that you ever have to say, and that comes from what is within you. So,
That's really cool. I wrote an article for Authority magazine, and it was about overcoming being a people pleaser. And one of the things that I mentioned that a lot of people in my audience were like, wow, this is huge, is that every yes that you say, you're saying no to something else. Just like every time you say no, you're saying yes to something else. And
that's
so,
right.
really thinking about when you say yes, I'm going to work late, what are you saying no to? Like your kids, your partner, your hobby, your rest. Or when you say, no to work, now you're saying yes to those things. And so it really understanding, but like really understanding what part of the spectrum it falls on. And what you're saying is like on a macro scale, like that goes, it goes the opposite way too. For every time that we're like, oh, this sucks, there's a silver lining, right? And so it can work both ways. So I love that so much.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on. And, essentially what you're saying too is that you get to choose. We get to choose. To every yes that you choose, what you say no to, you're choosing that. You're making the decision. And there's a lot of power in decision. And there's even more power in the intention behind your decision. So that choosing is really important, right? And that's really leading with your intention. But having the awareness of both sides, I think is key.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, being able to see both sides of it, right?
Mhm.
So let us know, how can we stay in touch with you? How can we follow you?
Yeah, so I work with, like I said, I work with organizations. I do executive retreats and speaking and so forth, but I do also work one-on-one with people. So you can find me on Instagram at the C Group Studio. It's the letter C, the C Group Studio. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and that's just at Kathryn Ficarra. You can find me on there, and I'm on Facebook under, I think it's just Kathryn F. So yeah, come find me, follow me. Would love to hear from you.
Yes, that's amazing. I would love to hear, keep up with all of your adventures because it sounds like you have a lot of fun. Now you did mention before we started recording that you did have a gift for the audience.
Yeah, so I have a little assessment. It's if you text the word shift to 55444, you'll get my little mini executive presence assessment, and then I can also put you on my email list to alert you when the book comes out. Um, so yeah, I think it's a little bit of just a thought generator of like how do I look at my life, or how am I, how aware of the thoughts that I think every day? Like where am I in that on that spectrum? And I think that's a good place to start. The personal growth trajectory can be very overwhelming. And there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of people talking about different universal laws and, it's overwhelming. It's a lot. And so you have to, the way I guide people on this journey is you just got to find the right path for you and what resonates with you. And, it's like you try on different hats, right? And which one looks good, you keep it, and which one doesn't, you just send it back, right? You just got to have your a little bit of your own inner compass on that. And but I think at the end of the day, I think we're a lot of people who are in this field just want to, assist people in their growth trajectory so that they become the best version of themselves.
I love that. Now, in becoming the best version of themselves, as we're wrapping up here, I'd love to hear your advice for entrepreneurs who want to elevate their presence like on social media, right? Because that's our platform, might not be in front of a physical group of people, but we're speaking on social media, we're making videos, we're doing blog posts. So what advice do you have for those entrepreneurs who really want to improve, I don't know if improve, but elevate their presence in all that they do?
Yeah, I mean, I think at a high level, you can I think it's really important to get clear on the version of you that when you desire something, it's already within you. It's just waiting to be revealed. And part of the work is really saying, okay, in a year from now, in 2 years and 3 years from now, what is the version of me that I want to, step into that, who is that person? And get really clear on who that person is. Like, what does she wear? What does she drive? What does she eat for breakfast? How does she walk? What is she, who is she? What are the elements that makes her her? And the more clear you are on that person, and the more you can, step into that identity on a daily basis, that bridge starts to become a lot smaller. You
Mhm.
start to really embody that person. And I think in the entrepreneurial route, that's a very scary place for a lot of people because it's the world of the unknown, right? And it's very noble and it's courageous and it's risky. And there's so much value in doing it. And I love working with entrepreneurs for that reason. And I would say two things. Number one, get a really good mastermind or support system of people that you can connect with that can help you. I'm a big fan of masterminds. I'm in two of them right now. And I find a lot of value in those. And the other thing is just have that vision, the vision of what change you want to create. What is, you're going to this world and you're going to go create a business. How is it helping other people? What does that change look like? And just step into every day, be really clear on the version of that person you're stepping into so that you eventually just embody it, and you just become that person. That's what I would say.
Yes, yes, yes. And I want to just add, because you mentioned like the car and stuff, but that's not necessarily something that everyone can do right now. I just can't just go buy the BMW, right?
It's not about
Um,
buying anything. It's use your imagination.
exactly.
Yeah, use your imagination. Get in that car. You might be driving like a beat up whatever. It doesn't matter. You get in there like you are driving the Porsche of your dreams, right? The car of your dreams. And, because when you start to really feel that way inside, it starts to emanate. And it's just one little trick, I guess you could say. It's not going to be the end all of how you can really transform, but it's a good starting point to be like, okay, I know that this version of me is wanting to be revealed. And there's just little ways that you can start doing that where you just start to feel good and you exude a little bit of that confidence within you. And, and not get tied up in the circumstance and the 3D matrix that you see right in front of you. I think that's where people get really caught up. It's a hard place to be.
Yes, absolutely. I was just gonna mention like starting with things like what does she drink? What does she eat? What time does she wake up? How does she interact with people? Does she say hello when, and starting to embody, because you can do those things right now. Like you don't have to go get a new job, you don't have to get a raise, you don't need anything to start embodying her in those ways. And the BMW will come, the house will come, right? But it's coming down to the smallest blocks and being, well, how can I be her right now without trying, without trying to be like this person. And because I see, the reason that I mentioned that is I see, especially now with things that the way that they're going, a lot of these social media influencers who are doing what we're talking about, right? They're going and they're buying all the stuff and they're trying to embody this influencer, and they've got this, all this stuff. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about becoming the person that has those things and bringing them, attracting them to ourselves. So I just want
Yeah,
to make that really clear for the
yes,
listener.
and you're right on. You got to become it before you can be it. And the reason I talk about what you drink and what you eat is because health is a big
Yes.
focus, right? And that version of you that is impactful and is out there, changing the world or doing whatever it is you want to do, there's got to be a really big health aspect to that. So, it's like what do you choose every day? Are you going to pick up that big glass of Coke? Or would you rather drink maybe a green shake or a glass of water? Like it's those little
Yeah.
tiny decisions that you make every day that that push you toward whatever it is you're trying to be. And you got to think about those things. You got to live with intention and think, okay, what are the decisions I'm making right now? Like, what is this decision? Is this helping me or hurting me? Is it bringing me closer to my path or not? And I'm not saying don't eat cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies and I have two kids. And so there's cookies here all the time. And I will eat them, but I'm aware when I eat them. I'm like, I'm choosing to eat this cookie and I'm good with it. But yeah, it's just the intention you put behind your decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not about that cookie that you eat once. Are you eating like a package of cookies every day? Because that's a habit and that's not a good one.
Yeah.
But having a cookie every now and then, well, that's fine. Like that's part of enjoying the process, enjoying the ride, and just making sure that these habits that we have underneath are supporting us so that when we have the cookie, it's not like the last cookie. Oh my God, that's it. This is what
Yeah.
knocked your health
Right.
over. No, you're just enjoying
Right.
it.
Yeah. You got to enjoy the ride for sure.
Yes, yes. And then that's where gratitude comes right back, makes his way back around. But practicing gratitude helps us enjoy that cookie so we don't have to eat. Because, like,
Mhm.
you know what? Like, I'll be honest, when I was younger, like, I could sit down and eat a whole pallet of cookies, like just the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I'm like, well, I'm just enjoying this one cookie and I don't feel the need to eat like 17 of them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's all part of the process. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Kathryn. This has been absolutely amazing. And we will catch you guys next time on the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Bye.
Bye.